Hi, welcome out to the channel. My name's Kim. I'm an East Asian medical provider, and today we're going to talk about Globus hystericus. Oh no, we're not. We're not talking about that today, are we? We're talking about why am I so thirsty? I drink water all the time. I'm still thirsty. What's up with that? Well, today we're going to talk about what that means from an East Asian medical perspective. And this will help you with some ideas, because I know there's not anything out there in Western medicine that gives you an idea of why you're so thirsty. They actually tell you to drink more water. And at some point in time, you're just going to be this huge bag of water walking around, sloshing around through life. So let's talk about what that means from an East Asian medical perspective, and what you can do to help improve that. If you've been watching the channel, if you've been checking out YouTube, you probably noticed that there is a new icon underneath the videos, and that's the thanks icon. So it's a heart with thanks if you're able to. And if you get anything out of these videos, I would love you to click on that thanks button and donate to the channel. It'll be used to continue to bring you great content on what's happening with your health from an East Asian medical perspective, so that you can improve your health on a daily basis. I have been watching Man Who Fell to Earth. I don't know if any of you guys have been watching it. It's new on Paramount and Showtime. I think it's a remastered. I don't really know, but I like it. And this isn't a spoiler alert, but at the beginning of the movie, or at the beginning of the series, the man who fell to earth, he finds a water hose and it's on, and he has this thing for water. So he literally attaches himself to the hose and he is guzzling this water. That's kind of what I think this is like, where you can drink water all day and it just doesn't change the situation. You are still thirsty. So let me tell you about 3 symptoms that are precursors and that suggests that you're going in this direction. Now, one of the first happens really early on, and this can happen like decades before you get to the thirsty zone. And that's those dry, cracked heels. Those usually, for some people, show up in their late 30s. That is one of the first signs that you might be heading towards the thirsty zone. Another one is having to go to the bathroom all the time. And that starts showing up more and more as you get into your late 40s, early 50s. And then the I can't sleep, that happens in your 50s, usually. Okay, so those are just the general idea of when you might start seeing these symptoms. They're prerequisites to get to the I am thirsty zone. So what does that mean? What does all of that mean? Well, this goes back to the Yin Yang school of medicine, and that, I think, was active right around the time period of Confucius, that period of 100 schools of thought. And what they talk about is yin and yang in the body. So we all come into this world with yin and yang. So we have this resource of yin and yang that we bring in, and we're going to be using that through our lives. And either we replenish it or we use it and don't replenish it. And for most of us today, I think we're doing the replenish and not, or we're doing the using and not replenishing. So a lot of what's out here on this channel is ideas and help you replenish your yin and yang, so you can go into your later years still active, healthy, vibrant, and with your mind. Okay, so we come in with yin and yang, and then through our life we use it, and we're not taught how to replenish it or how to nurture it. So we keep on progressively getting more fatigued, sicker, more out of shape. And as that happens, they say we start using up both our yin and yang. Well, the thirsty thing is on the yin side of life. So if we think about yin, that is the foundation of life. So that's the soil of life. That's earth. And how you nurture that through life means either going to be pretty vibrant towards the end, or you're going to be a little bit exhausted towards the end. When you're a farmer and you're managing your soil, there are signs that your soil is becoming less healthy. And I grew up in rural Minnesota, which has some of the best soil in the United States. And that soil was rich and black. And, you would pick it up and you'd squeeze it and it'd stick together and it'd drop in clumps out of your hands. It was really resource rich. I remember being a kid, I would actually participate in the speaking contests on soil conservation because it's a big deal. That's kind of how we get our food, is through the soil. So we want to make sure that it's around for later generations. I was talking about you couldn't completely plow your fields under. If you did that, you would lose so much of the soil to wind erosion over the winter and water erosion. I think what shocked me is going back 30 years later, early spring, and seeing how many of the farmers are still completely clearing their fields at the beginning of winter. But you know what shocked me more? I've never seen gray, sandy soil in Minnesota. And now I could see that driving back to where I grew up. The fields, there would be fields, some of them were completely gray. Gone was that black topsoil that used to be throughout rural Minnesota. Okay, so how did we get to thirsty? You didn't know what preventative measures you needed to take, and you've been cruising through that topsoil like it's a party. And when you're younger, it is a party because everything's fun. But as we get older, and now that you're super thirsty and, you're drinking water all the time and it doesn't change the thing, now it's becoming less fun. But here's the thing, all's not lost. So when we talk about the soil, it's basically, if we use this soil and we don't protect it, it's going to lose more and more of its resources, and it's going to have a harder time growing crops. It's going to have a harder time holding water. And here's where that whole concept of I drink water all the time and I'm still thirsty. What is up with that? Well, when I went through Minnesota, a few years back and saw all this gray soil, what I noticed is if you got out of the car and you looked at the soil, is all the humus had been washed out of that soil over the years and years of farming. And you could pick it up and it was almost like sand. It would just fall through your hands. It wouldn't, clump together. You'd open up, you'd pick it up and it would fall through your hands. And so when you have soil that no longer has humus, it doesn't hold water. It just lets the water flow through. And that's pretty much what's happening, and why, even though you're really thirsty, why it's not making an impact and why you're still thirsty. You're still thirsty because you just don't have all the nutrition that you need in order to hold that water. So just like those fields that no longer have that deep, rich humus in it that would always hold that water, it's sand, and sand doesn't hold any water. It basically filters water all the way through and lets it just run right through. So that's what's happening for you. And that's why just drinking water, it's just not going to be enough. So let's talk about some of the things that you can do to change this. Wow, we've covered a lot. So we've covered the most common things that will happen that will give you an idea that this is going to happen to you at some point in time in your life. We've covered why that happens and what it means in Chinese medicine. So now you're probably wondering, well, what can I do to change this? Let's talk about a few things that you can do to help change this. And the first thing is, if you're at the point where you're already drinking a ton of water and it's not changing the fact that you're still thirsty, well, then we need to get some nutrients in you like right away. So let's look at a great multivitamin. And guess what? A great multivitamin, you're not going to find it on your grocery shelf. You're not going to find it at Costco. Where you're going to find it is go to one of your alternative care providers and ask them what supplements they use or if they have a great multivitamin. But find one from a reputable producer and start using that on a daily basis. And think about using that for about the next 3 years. So once again, a good multivitamin, and it's not called one a day. Now, the next thing that you can do is start looking at your food choices. And you're like, okay, but I eat really healthy. Well, good for you. We all want to eat healthy. Now you want to eat healthy and eat foods that help build your yin, which isn't going to be all foods out there. So in my next episode, I'm going to go over a simple meal that goes over a lot of different foods that help rebuild yin in the body. And you can use that as a starter plate for what you can do to eat to help rebuild your yin. I have one more option for you, and this is a great option. I will offer you a free coaching call. If you want to talk about some of the other things that you can do, really get solid on what it is you're trying to accomplish and what you could do to help improve that. And there will be a link in the video description below, or hopefully I will have figured out how to put the link in this episode. Okay, thanks guys for coming out, and until next time, I'll catch you on the other side.